right, we're back, and we're back at my workshop or my garage. And believe it or not, if you've seen this garage before, this workbench is hardly ever accessible. That means Dewey's been working. I've been working to get everything cleared off specifically for this project and just trying to clean up my life in general. We are back, and what we're here doing is we're working on dismantling the stroker big bore with wide ratio gears for Link's garage. And I've got a little bit of a itinerary here. Main thing I want to do is get the cams off. It's been a long day at work, so what I'm going to do here on this portion is going to remove our crank access over here. I may also remove our timing access to be able to see where your timing is, your peephole, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to take the cover off here, remove our tensioner once we get this thing to top dead center, which we really don't have to, but I'm going to do it anyway. And we're going to remove our cams and do a journal inspection on the head, because this engine was burning a little bit of oil, and I'm a little bit concerned because I know this thing had been hydrolocked with fuel. And then even moreover concerning, it had fuel in the oil because the stupid carburetor that Suzuki put on these things stock is just silly. And so I'm trying to get to the point. So another one thing that I'm trying to improve on in my videos is getting to the point. So I've got my, well, I don't know what size that is. It's on my 3/8 drive. I've got my 3/8 drive here. I've got it here for a couple other things. I've got my 17 millimeter. I've got a 10 millimeter on my 1/4 inch drive, and I've got an 8 millimeter in case I need it. And at this point, that's where we're just gonna dig into it and take this cover off of here. These are really easy to strip, so you got to be really gentle about them and make sure that you keep it square or it'll strip out. I know I've been in this thing before, so I'm worried about it a little bit, but not so much. Oh man, that's tight. I didn't think I grilled it on there. There we go. All right, so I got that loosened. I'm a little bit nervous about getting to this next one because if that one was that big of a pain, this one's going to be a bigger pain because these are easy to strip out. And the good news is there's a good aftermarket support for these, and people can get some really high quality Chinese ones if they want to, from China. I'm just trying to get a good point where I can get a decent leverage on it. Oh, broke loose quite easily. Okay, so with that done, real quick, the one thing that I didn't stage over here was my parts holder, because I don't want to lose anything here. So 1 second here. Here we go. Here's my parts container. I also use it for many other things. I'm just going to set it over here to the side. So, try not to block the shot. So, got that removed. I'm going to get our crankcase access on here. And this one has the top one usually has, I think it came with it, a crush washer. And on this one, there's an O-ring. There's an O-ring on this piece. And you can see we didn't strip it. It might focus, it might not. I'm setting it over here. And to keep track of my tools, I'm going to put those back because I'm not going to need those anymore for the rest of this session, I don't think. So that's back in place. Next thing I'm going to do, well, see, I just put them back. These are Allen heads, so they're a different size. going to go ahead and take our valve cover off. Nope, it's not that one. It's a bigger size up. All three of these up here are Allen heads, and they're all the same size. When you're doing this in the engine, it's a little bit tricky to get to some of them. But again, this is not something that you want to round off, so be patient. If you're using regular tools like a Allen key set, you want to do kind of like what I'm doing there, making sure that you're putting force on it, but you're not letting it hog it out or wallow it. Okay. Okay. A lot of people would be tempted to put an impact driver on this. You know, on certain things I'll do that, but this is not the case for it right now, what I'm looking to do. Okay. There are seals on the valve cover for each one of these. The two that I just removed pretty much stay in place, and this one's got kind of a crush washer piece on there. I didn't loosen this one as much. I don't know if I'm going to be as descriptive, and I might not show as much of this as this teardown and this build goes, but I think it's important to share as much of this process to know. For anybody that does this, you know, it's going to be elementary, but for people that don't do this stuff, what all goes into the process of even doing a top end service. Yeah, this one's a little longer winded and it's got a different seal. All right, that's just going to stay put. I'm going to put this here. Some points, what I'll do is I'll have some plastic baggies staged to kind of itemize things in. And that's what I'm going to do after we're done dismantling this. I'm putting everything in the parts holder here. And I will have to say, this engine has this nice smell of WD-40, which is glorious because I cleaned this all out. Okay, looks pretty good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, since I'm going to be rotating this engine over, I've got my spark plug wrench here that goes on the 1/4 inch drive. I'm going to remove it. Yeah, I used the torque wrench when I installed this one in there last. Actually, I didn't get it in here because they hydrolocked it. It's easier to rotate the engine over when you're trying to get it into time without the spark plug in there. You're not fighting that compression. All right. The other thing that I have sitting here staged is my little pin magnet. Spark plug looks pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to get my extension and my 17mm on the 3/8 drive. I'm going to run it back over here to the crankcase access. Did I just roll it right to the timing point? Looks like I may have done that because our lobes are facing out. For all intensive purposes, this is all the farther that we have to go to get top dead center. So that's fine. So I was talking about my Allen heads, so I'm going to come back to those and remove the cams here in a second. But the first thing that I've got to do before I go to remove the cams is I got to get to our cam chain tensioner. So that'll take me to my, oh, it's a 12 millimeter. Was I not ready with that? Accidentally, I was ready for it. 12 millimeter cap. This is important to remove the cap first, because if you don't remove the cap, see how tight that was? It's got a crush washer on here. It's loose. That's fine. What we're going to do is go ahead and remove the tensioner spring out of it, just because we don't need it to be in there anymore. It's got to come out one way or another. It might as well come out now. There it is. It's a hollow, if you can see here, it's a hollow bolt with the crush washer and the spring sets inside. I'm going to set that aside in the valve cover here. I'm going to switch over to my, is it the same one? No, it's smaller. Okay, I'm going to put it back in its place. Go the one smaller. This part's going to move a little bit quicker. I know this might be a little boring, but this is a part of the process. Okay, I'm going to remove our tensioner. Then I'm going to remove these 4 bolts, and we will be able to remove the cams. I'm not interested in measuring valve lash at this point, because these aren't the cams that we're going to be using. We will do that at the later point when I assemble the head. And some of you guys are going to probably, or gals, or guys and guys, or gals, or guys and gals. Maybe this is a family of people watching it together. I hope so. So, removing these 2 bolts. We don't have the spring in it anymore, so it's not launching itself into oblivion. There, broke that loose. And the gasket, some of it came off on the tensioner. No big deal. So, I'm going to set those together. And this is a good opportunity to describe how these work if we wanted to see it. This tensioner, as the cam chain wears, it will progress outward until it can't anymore. And when we go to reinstall it, this is a little keep on it and it pushes back in. But the cam chain tensioner spring, it maintains a certain amount of pressure on it when it's in place. And we'll see here. See? So that's what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and just start a few threads on it, and that way it can go back into the valve cover, and now we're ready to proceed on. All right. Kind of a moment of truth here. In a crisscross pattern, I'm going to break loose these cam cap bolts. So from this side to that side, we're doing the intake first. And usually when I do these, I do them with a 1/4-inch drive when I tighten them. So that, okay, yeah. Good. Because I have an old school torque wrench that I trust. And this is one of those things where if I wanted to use my impact or my screw gun, I would do so right now. just to kind of speed things along. Okay, now we'll break the exhaust side ones loose. Again, in a crisscross pattern. You can hear the sounds of it breaking loose. A lot of people don't understand the ramifications of over-tightening or over-torquing these. You gotta understand, you got steel, got a steel bolt going into a threaded aluminum surface. And these heads, or the head, they're, if you do something like that, good luck repairing it. It's been several weeks since I removed this engine from the bike. You can still see a good presence of oil. That always makes me happy. Alright, so this is kind of the moment of truth here. There's this cap that sets over the top of the cam caps, and sometimes these can be a little stubborn because there's dowel pins holding them in place. Yeah, I'm getting this to walk a little bit on the exhaust side. Got to be careful when handling these because those dowel pins can fall down into the engine. All right, they stayed in place on the head here on this side. Okay, now it's time to get the intake off. And it's just a matter of, it's walking very, very little. This is the moment of truth here. Because I know for some period of time, I don't know how long, I know this is, I'm hiding the shot, hiding the money shot here, but, and we might try some different camera angles with my DJI Osmo here. Oh, come on, this thing's, it is moving. Oh yeah, we're getting some good headway. I'm trying to do the best video that I possibly can here. All right, yeah, so the dowel pin stayed placed on the head here. If we were doing a service on this engine and not tearing it all the way down, one of the things that we need to do is keep really good track of the cam chain, but we're gonna replace that and everything. Oh, good. And we will, yeah, this looks, this engine's not, this head's not hurt at all. Good. Always a relief here. And since we're just going to put it, we're just going to put it off the side on the water pump. Excuse me. Come on, Dewey, use your words. The thermostat housing there. Real quick, I'm going to take the camera and show you in the best lighting way I can here. Maybe it'll focus. Real quick, I'm going to get my phone out of my pocket and use the light on it. There we go. And what we're looking for is scoring on this surface right here and this surface right here. And it looks just fine. And also our buckets are fine, these stainless steel pieces here. So I'm very encouraged. Okay, so don't know where I'm at as far as myself being in frame here. So we were able to take the cams out. We've got it in time on top dead center. The next thing in which I will do will remove the head. and we'll move on. I'm kind of tempted to break that loose right now, but I don't have any of the parts staged. I do have my 12 millimeter here, but I'm going to need my half-inch drive here to be able to hook onto those. So we're going to save that one for the next session. So with that, we're going to do at least this top end tear down on a part of the video. So I'll continue that with filmmaking magic right now.